देखिए, वीर माधो सिंह भंडारी उत्तराखंड टेक्निकल यूनिवर्सिटी जो 2005 में उत्तरांचल टेक्निकल यूनिवर्सिटी के रूप में स्थापित हुई थी, इसका उद्देश्य पूरे उत्तराखंड राज्य में तकनीकी एवं व्यावसायिक शिक्षा का प्रचार प्रसार के दृष्टिगत इसको किया गया था। तो इस प्रदेश के अंदर जो तकनीकी शिक्षा थी, उसको प्रदेश भर के छात्रों के लिए और जो आसपास के छात्र थे, उन सब तक पहुंचाने के लिए इस विश्वविद्यालय ने अपनी जिम्मेदारी निभाना शुरू किया। आज इस विश्वविद्यालय को 18 साल पूरे हो चुके हैं। 27 जनवरी 2005 को इसकी स्थापना हुई थी और इस विश्वविद्यालय के पास जितनी भी भारत की नियामक संस्थाएं हैं, उनके स्तर से जो पाठ्यक्रम नियमित होते हैं, जैसे ऑल इंडिया काउंसिल फॉर टेक्निकल एजुकेशन है, फार्मेसी काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया है, काउंसिल ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर है और बार काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया है, इनके पाठ्यक्रमों को संचालन करने की जिम्मेदारी इस विश्वविद्यालय की है। आज की जो हमारी एजुकेशन सिस्टम है, उसमें क्लासरूम में बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। वो चैलेंज ये है कि हम बच्चों के अंदर जो उनकी इंक्लूसिवनेस है, उसको हम यूटिलाइज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। जो हमारी कंटेंट अवेलेबिलिटी है, जो हमारा ई कंटेंट है, जो हमारी इंटरनेट की जो व्यवस्था है, उसके अंतर्गत हमने पूरे विश्व की जितनी नॉलेज है उसको हमने इंटरनेट पर उपलब्ध करा दिया। तो कुछ पेड है, कुछ अनपेड है, लेकिन अवेलेबल सब कुछ है। तो इस प्रकार से जो अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ नॉलेज है, जो क्यूरियोसिटी जिसके पीछे होती थी, वो कहीं ना कहीं हम उसको पहले ही किल कर देते हैं। देखिए, आज के समय में जो इंजीनियरिंग की एजुकेशन है, वो पूरे देश में एक बड़े चैलेंज के दौर से गुजर रही है। इस समय जो छात्रों का रुझान है, वो रोजगार को लेकर के, एम्प्लॉयमेंट को लेकर के इतना ज़्यादा हो गया है कि जो हमारी इंजीनियरिंग का जो बेसिक पर्पस था, जो आज हमारा जो टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट हुआ है, इस टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट में सभी विधाओं की बराबर की भूमिका है। लेकिन आज जो बच्चों में झुकाव है, वो सिर्फ कंप्यूटर के कोर्सेज हैं, उनकी तरफ ही हो गया है। इस प्रकार से यदि आप देखें तो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है पूरी इंजीनियरिंग एजुकेशन को, क्योंकि हम पूरी ह्यूमन रिसोर्स को कंप्यूटर सेंट्रिक नहीं बना सकते। हमारे को इस पूरे सिविलाइजेशन को सस्टेनेबल बनाने के लिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हमारे पास अच्छे सिविल इंजीनियर भी हों जो कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की रिक्वायरमेंट्स को पूरा कर सकें, अच्छे इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियर भी हों जो कि एनर्जी सेक्टर की और जो एनर्जी की रिक्वायरमेंट है उसको मीट आउट कर सकें, अच्छे मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर भी चाहिए जो कि हमारे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेसेस हैं उनको उत्कृष्ट कर सकें, और जो भी निर्माण होने हैं, जो इंजीनियरिंग एप्लीकेशंस हैं, उनके बारे में जो अवस्थापना सुविधाएं हैं, जो आधारभूत इक्विपमेंट की रिक्वायरमेंट है, इस प्रकार की आवश्यकताओं को पूरा कर सकें। और हमें जो उत्कृष्ट मस्तिष्क हैं, उनको हमें इंजीनियरिंग की बाकी विधाओं में भी उसी अनुपात में उपलब्ध कराना होगा। अन्यथा इस सभ्यता को सस्टेनेबल बनाने में, इस सिविलाइजेशन को सस्टेनेबल रखने में एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती होगी। देखिए, जो इंजीनियरिंग की जो पढ़ाई है, उस पढ़ाई के दो कंपोनेंट्स हैं। एक कंपोनेंट हो गया क्लासरूम का और एक हो गया लैबोरेटरी का। और इन सब के बीच जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण कंपोनेंट है, वो है एक जो हमारा इकोसिस्टम है, यानी कि जो टीचर्स हैं, जो एम्बियंस है, जो उनका एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, इन सब के अंदर इन सारी चीज़ों को लेकर के बड़ी गंभीरता होनी चाहिए कि ये बहुत ही एक ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी है हम सब के पास कि हम अपनी जो यंगर जनरेशन है उसको इतना कैपेबल बना सकते हैं कि वो आगे की जो भी चुनौतियां हैं उनको अपने स्तर से उनको हैंडल कर सकें और अपना कंट्रीब्यूशन दे सकें। तो जो बच्चों के अंदर जो हम कैपेबिलिटी डालने की बात करते हैं, उसमें संसाधन बहुत बड़ी अड़चन नहीं है। संसाधन की आवश्यकता जरूर है, लेकिन वो ऐसा नहीं है कि बिना संसाधन नहीं है तो हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते। पहले अगर हम सेल्फ लर्निंग मोड में बच्चे को मोटिवेट कर सकें उसमें जाने के लिए, तो वो बहुत सारी चीज़ों को अपने स्तर से भी सीख लेगा। देखिए, परीक्षा के दौरान जो हमारी विशेष करके जो हमारा उत्तराखंड है, उस उत्तराखंड राज्य में भौगोलिक परिस्थिति ऐसी है कि संस्थाओं को एक दूसरे तक पहुंचने में रोड ट्रैवल काफ़ी टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होता है। तो इसके अंतर्गत विश्वविद्यालय द्वारा एक डिजिटाइजेशन की प्रक्रिया परीक्षा संचालन में स्थापित की गई है और विश्वविद्यालय ने प्रश्न पत्रों के मुद्रण की कार्यवाही बंद कर दी है। विश्वविद्यालय डिजिटल मोड में प्रश्न पत्रों को विश्वविद्यालय से सभी संस्थाओं जो परीक्षा केंद्र होते हैं वहां तक प्रेषित करता है। ये डिजिटली इनक्रिप्टेड फॉर्म में क्वेश्चन पेपर का ट्रांसमिशन एक एफिलिएटिंग यूनिवर्सिटी के रूप में शायद इस विश्वविद्यालय का एक अभूतपूर्व प्रयास है।
गुड इवनिंग
इसके द्वारा
संदीप कुमार
हमारी
जी।
संस्थाओं को अपने परीक्षा
गुड
केंद्र पर ही
इवनिंग
रहते
डॉक्टर
हुए
साहब,
प्रश्न पत्र उनके
गुड टू हियर फ्रॉम यू
सेंटर
सर।
पर उपलब्ध हो जाता है।
थैंक यू।
परीक्षा की
सेशन
नियति
इज
समय
वेरी
से
मच
पहले थोड़ी देर
इंटरेक्टिव
पहले
एंड
उसको उनका
today
पासवर्ड
I'll
दे
get
दिया
a
जाता है और वो
opportunity
पेपर
to
को अपने यहाँ डाउनलोड करके प्रिंट
interact
कर
with
लेते
you
हैं।
sir also.
और इसी के साथ में जो
Definitely, and
परीक्षा केंद्र
encourage
है
others to
उसकी
be
पूरी निगरानी
interactive as
करने के
well
लिए सभी
because
परीक्षा
that's how we
कक्षों में
learn.
सीसीटीवी
Yes sir.
कैमरे की व्यवस्था की गई
Yeah,
है और
thank
उसको
you.
अभी हम
Thank
अगले
you for your
आगामी
lead,
सत्रों से
Sandeep
उसको
Kumar
हम
ji.
आईपी
Thank you
पे
so much
कैप्चर
sir.
करके विश्वविद्यालय में भी जो कंट्रोल रूम बनाएंगे उसमें उसकी निगरानी करने की व्यवस्था की जा रही है। ये सारा प्रयास इस बात को लेकर के है कि छात्र छात्राओं के अंदर इस बात का एहसास होना चाहिए कि परीक्षा एक बहुत ही पवित्र प्रक्रिया है। विश्वविद्यालय से संबद्ध जितनी भी संस्थाएं हैं इनमें जो प्लेसमेंट की एक्टिविटी है उस प्लेसमेंट की एक्टिविटी को बढ़ाने के लिए सभी संस्थाओं के स्तर से भी प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं और विश्वविद्यालय में भी एक ट्रेनिंग एंड प्लेसमेंट सेल का गठन किया गया है और इस प्रकार का एक मोबाइल ऐप भी विश्वविद्यालय द्वारा तैयार करके प्रचालित किया गया है। इस मोबाइल ऐप के द्वारा जो हमारे इंटर्नशिप हैं उनकी ये जो इंडस्ट्रीज़ हैं जो अपॉर्चुनिटी देती हैं उनको उस पर पॉपुलेट किए जाने का प्रावधान है और साथ साथ में जितने हमारे डायरेक्टर्स हैं और ट्रेनिंग प्लेसमेंट ऑफिसर्स हैं इन सभी को इसके अंदर इंटीग्रेट कर दिया गया है और बहुत जल्दी ही इस ऐप के माध्यम से जो हमारे छात्र उनको विभिन्न विषयों में जो इंटर्नशिप की हैं अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिलने लगेंगी। इसी में प्लेसमेंट के साथ साथ में उच्च शिक्षा के अवसर भी विश्वविद्यालय को उपलब्ध कराने चाहिए और विश्वविद्यालय ने अपने पाठ्यक्रम में जो नई शिक्षा नीति है उसके अनुरूप कुछ परिवर्तन भी किए हैं जिसमें कि बीटेक के बाद बच्चों को सीधे 1 साल की अवधि में एमटेक की डिग्री लेने के लिए एक प्रावधान भी किया गया है और ये सत्र 2022-23 से ही इसको प्रारंभ किया गया है और जो बच्चे हमारे उच्च शिक्षा में जाना चाहते हैं उनको विश्वविद्यालय में जो संस्थाएं हैं उनमें एमटेक के लिए भी अवसर उपलब्ध हो सकेंगे। सो प्लेसमेंट, इंटर्नशिप और हायर एजुकेशन तीनों वर्टिकल्स पे यूनिवर्सिटी के इनिशिएटिव्स उस पर तैयारी चल रही है और जल्दी ही इसके परिणाम दिखने लगेंगे।
Good evening to all. I Wajahat, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE from JD Institute of Technology. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to welcome all the dignitaries, directors, faculties, and my dear students in this stage soft skill program 2023. I also welcome eminent speaker and motivator Dr. Manu Vadasa. On this occasion of Soft Skill Program 2023, I would like to request Dr. Sandeep Chaudhary sir to introduce us about today's program and also read the profile of our guest, Dr. Manu Vohra sir. Dr. Sandeep Chaudhary sir.
Thank you, Bajaj sir. I express my heartiest gratitude to the Technical University and to our all the director principals and the most important person who is behind this program, Professor Bora sir. Uh, I give you a big thanks from the whole university and the institute, those who are listening you, sir. Before starting this, I'll put the quick recap, the last session that you shared with us, the very important session that you delivered based on leadership excellence. In that, you give that how we can handle the boss versus leader concern, leader as a coach, a very important slide at the last session that you shared, sir. And leadership intelligence, that is also a very important concern that you shared, how we can use the leadership intelligence, emotional intelligence. The new word I learned in that how we can use the leadership intelligence to
You are on a mute, Sandeep ji. Unmute kariye.
you highlighted the very important points last time, sir. I put it some of the highlights that you shared last in that leadership, that how leadership can concern as a business excellence, as a leadership model. Your model is also present here. 12 keys to the kingdom of learning engagements and faculty excellence model, effective teaching learning process. So many of the very important models you highlighted in your last session, which make a good remark to our students also, even to the faculties. Now for the today's program, there is a very important topic that we are going to discuss here, that is effective decision making. In this session, Dr. Vora will discuss effective decision making, how people make decision all the time. The quality of those decisions is often in question, because many of the time we make decision and somehow at the same time, after some time, we'll raise question on that decision also by own. So even by those who make them, they can also raise a decision that why they made that decision, that how to means make a correct decision. Now today's session is very much important, that how we make an effective decision. Before starting this, I'll on behalf of Veer Madhav Singh Bhandari, Uttarakhand Technical University, I welcome our registrar, sir, Professor Dr. Satyendra, sir, who is behind this show. And big thanks to our motivator, Professor Dr. Omkar Singh, our Vice Chancellor. He's backbone of this concern to the student, to benefit the student. In this class, I get this opportunity to read the profile of Dr. Manu Kumar Bora, sir. Dr. Manu Kumar Bora is chairman and president of Business Excellence, a global quality management consulting firm. He has over 48 years of leadership experience and has guided Fortune 500 companies with related performance excellence assessment. For more 30 years as an adjacent professor, he teaches operation management courses in business schools globally. A very vast profile of our renowned eminent speaker. He has contributed at over 680 educational institution worldwide, and he is a sought after speaker on business excellence and quality management topic with over 1270 presentation globally in 36 countries across 5 continents, and published over 75 scholar articles. Very important that I'm going to read, that is, he gave a TEDx talk. A TEDx is a very renowned concern, and the speaker that TEDx have, they are very much marked in the world also. He has delivered soft skill and quality management topics using technology to over 680 colleges, universities globally, benefited over 1.2 million students, faculties, professionals. uh, in 2016, he delivered a project management for organizational excellence gain course approved by MHRD, Government of India, in alma mater IIT-BHU. In 2016, he was appointed as a fluent specialist by the U.S. Department of State, and completed his first fluent specialist project at IIT-BHU in March 2018. Sir, the many more highlights we have from you, and means the night is less to read the achievements that you have, many achievements that you have. I welcome Professor Bora on behalf of Uttarakhand Technical University for guiding us and leading this soft skill program. So I handed over my session to Mani Bora sir. Please, you can enlighten your words, sir, and guide us for the further program. Thank you. Sir, you are muted right now.
Okay, so good evening to everyone. Thank you, Sandeep Kumarji, for your very kind introduction. Welcome to the registrar, Dr. Singh, all the principals, directors, esteemed faculty, and students who have joined on this program. As Sandeep Kumarji mentioned, we concluded the first session on 24th of April on leadership excellence. And that is the beginning of the journey in the soft skill program. One of the fundamental requirement that in order to have an effective project team, you need to have a leader who understands how to manage the team by listening to people, by understanding what the issues are, finding the resources, empowering the team, making the right decisions of bringing the right people into the team, assigning the appropriate task and subtasks per their strengths and interests. So today's topic is continuing series in the soft skill required to be successful as a professional in all domains. And other thing I just wanted to bring in is there is a huge component of ethical decision making which will shed light on during the later part of the presentation. And that thing is highly relevant in India and across the world. How do we make our decisions in an ethical way so that we are doing the right thing for ourselves, for our groups, for our departments, for our institute, for our organization, for the society, and for the nation, and for the world. Because whatever decisions we make at different levels have implications, and it extends far beyond your own reach. So very critical topic to understand and use some of the ideas to become better at making effective decisions, which can help you to be more successful in everything you do. So with that brief introduction, one last comment on the decision making. Even as a child, he or she will know when to cry. Either the child is hungry or wet. The child will cry and make a decision so that attention is gotten from the mother, and mother would know exactly what needs to be done. So this decision making starts at a very early age once we come to the world, and it continues until we depart to meet the Creator. So it's a journey, and we need to understand how do we make better decisions as we progress in life. So with that, just confirm that the title slide is visible. Yes. Kindly confirm. Is the title slide okay? Sandeep Kumar ji. I hope the slide is visible. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And then everybody should remain on a mute so we will have a better communication. And if possible, turn off your video also to preserve the bandwidth. Question and answer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Question and answer will be through the chat. And please, all of you remain muted and turn off your video. Thank you. So we'll go through session 1 feedback and quickly recap the summary of the session. And I'll begin with my own life journey vis-a-vis decision making. Take few simple quotes on decision making to get the icebreaker type of activity. Then we will have a discussion around professional decision making, followed by personal decision making opportunities. Very special thing, just to remind everybody what we did during the COVID-19 pandemic. And in India, the issue has started coming back in few states. So we need to be mindful of what needs to be done going forward. I'll share with you some excellent decision-making models, and then some best practices on making decisions. Very big impactful component on ethical decision-making, few references. And as I mentioned in the first session, your 2 key takeaways from the session, which is very important. What are you learning? And what 2 things you will absorb out of the presentation and start implementing once you are back, either as a student or a faculty or as a professional. So let's continue the journey. So session 1, and I want to thank Wajad ji and the team for analyzing the survey results from the session 1. Overall session got satisfactory, very satisfactory combination of 98.6%. So thank you very much. Learning new skills, again, 98.6%, very satisfactory and satisfactory combination. And ability to apply the new skills, 98.7%. So very thankful for very positive feedback. The session 1 YouTube recording is shown here, and the slide deck will be shared with Wajad ji and Vishal ji. So it can be put up on a soft skill program page for the Uttarakhand University, Technical University website. And just to sum up what we discussed in the session 1, leadership is all about influencing, igniting, and inspiring ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And that is all simple but very profound definition of leadership. Influence, ignite, and inspire ordinary people to do extraordinary things. What do the leaders do? They define the purpose, create vision, identify key strategies, allocate right resources, and achieve results through people. At the end of the day, leadership is about walking the talk, that is, put things in practice. As I mentioned, people can see the difference between what you say and what you do, and they follow what you do, not what you say. Now, let's begin the topic on decision making. And I just wanted to share with you my example, and I'm sure each one of you have your own example of making decisions up to this point station in your life. So by the age of 6, I had lost both parents, And without the parental guidance, I started to focus on education, which was the one way to get out of the childhood difficulties. Then when I was in the 8th grade, I had a temporary blindness for 24 hours due to freak accident from a firecracker which exploded on my face. Fortunately, I got my eyesight back. 30 years later, we started a Blind Foundation for India NGO here in the US to support 15 million blind people in India, 1 out of 3 in the world. I was very honored to join the esteemed organization Banaras Hindu University, founded by Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya ji. 64 to 68, I got my undergraduate education in chemical engineering. 68, I came here as a Tata Scholar to Illinois Institute of Tech in Chicago for graduate and postgraduate work. 76, after getting my graduate work completed, joined Institute of Gas Technology to conduct energy applied research. Wrote several publications, and 1982 joined AT&T Bell Labs, and that's where I got the initiation in the field of quality. 1987 joined American Society for Quality to get a further exposure at the global level. 1989 established Blind Foundation for India for providing free Chakshudan in India. 93 joined IIT, Illinois Institute of Tech, Stewart School of Business as a adjunct faculty to teach operations management, quality management, supply chain management, project management courses. This is how I got inducted into the academics. With about 18 years of industry experience, I had the upper hand in delivering combination of practice and theory in the classroom. Year 2000, after leaving AT&T Bell Labs, started my own consulting firm, Business Excellence Inc. That was the beginning of entrepreneurship in the economic sense. And I've been involved with a number of NGOs for a long time. Year 2000, started training and teaching executives and students in India. 2013, 2 TEDx talks, gift of giving and social responsibility. In 2013, started the soft skill program in India as a part of a free Gyandan project. 2016, Fulbright specialist appointment by the US Department of State to get the international exposure. And in year 2020, was very honored to be associated with the AICTE, invited to join National Education Policy 2020 Implementation Plan Committee. And the journey continues. So decisions I made at several stages in my life have helped me to propel my career both professionally and personally. And I'm sure all of you have your own story to tell vis-a-vis decision making, and this is how the life unfolds before us. We have many opportunities. What we decide to act upon and not to act upon will continue to give us good or not so good results. So let's take a few quotes on decision making. We start with Lee Iacocca, who was the CEO at Ford Motor Company. He had just retired, and he was called back by the Chrysler Corporation to bring it out of bankruptcy. And he took the challenge, $1 a year salary. He didn't need the money, but he took the challenge of turning around the Chrysler Corporation and brought it out of bankruptcy and put it on a path for recovery. What he talks about is that if I had to sum up in a word what makes a good manager, that's the decisiveness. You can use all the fancy computer to gather the numbers, but in the end, you have to set a timetable and act. In other words, you have to use the facts and figures to make a decision in a timely way and take action. So decision making for a leader, for a manager is extremely critical component. Jim Collins, we saw his work, researcher from Stanford Graduate School of Business. He says greatness is not a function of circumstance. Greatness, it turns out, largely matter of conscious choice and discipline, and that's a decision-making ability. And Peter Drucker, the father of management, he talks about most discussions on decision-making assume that only the senior executives should make decisions or only their decisions matter. This is a dangerous mistake because in any setup, any institution, any organization, people have to make a decision at their own level and continue to make it throughout the chain of the organization. And everybody's decision will impact the ultimate stakeholders, the customers, the consumers, society, and the world. So everybody's decision making, if it is improved, if it is better, it will have a positive impact and positive outcome. So let's continue this journey of professional decision making opportunities. So I'll share a few of the ideas. So when you are hiring a new person for your organization, you have one positions and hundreds of candidates applying. All you do is do the shortlisting, have some personal interviews, and finally make a decision whom to hire, whom not to hire. Onboarding, once a person has joined the organization, you should have a quick orientation session within the first week, if possible, to provide the vision and mission and values of the organization. What are the objectives? Who are the key customers? Who are the suppliers? What you do and why you do it, etc. So you want to provide that snapshot to the person who has just joined so they can begin to assimilate in the workplace. Now, when I joined AT&T Bell Labs back in 1983, the orientation was held on day 2, where senior vice president attended the meeting. So that was a skip level meeting. A lot of new people who had joined the previous day, they were all together along with the different levels of management. So you can interact with them and get to learn from them. Initial training and ongoing training. So when a person joins, you want to give them very specific skills training needed to be successful for the position for which they are hired. And there should be a menu of ongoing training after 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, etc. Different training at different levels suitable for their growth. Initial assignment and ongoing assignment. So when I joined Bell Labs, they had a standing policy. For a newcomer, they will have a tailored 6 months initial assignment with the goal of using their background and giving the opportunity for them to succeed. When a person in the first 6 months is able to complete the assignment and gets a good footing in the organization, they are more likely to stay. So these things were all chosen in a wiser way, and they used to do this systematically for a organization which was one of the best in R&D, where every day a new patent was issued. Performance feedback. So if you are heading a team of 10 people, you need to individually give feedback to each of the person reporting to you with the review of their strengths first and review of what are the gaps where they can do better, with the objective of giving them developmental feedback so they can improve upon their performance and help the organization. Coaching, we saw the definition of a coach in the session 1. That is, You care for your people, you organize them, you align them, you challenge them, and you help them. So the coaching in not the sports sense, but in the workplace, you want to coach your people in the right way using your ability to understand what the needs are. You can mentor your people. Mentoring is very important component for the growth. It gives opportunity for you to give back. Professional growth, individually, what do you do to continue to grow professionally? Because nobody wants to be stagnant in their position. They all want to progress in life. So you need to have a path to have a professional growth opportunity. Promotions, you have one position open, 3 candidates are vying to move to the next level. You are going to do the interviews, look at their background, their abilities, and the projection of what can they do in the new position with their past track record and ability to get new results. Terminations, when people don't work out, you have to use the HR function to let people go so that they can find a better place where they can use their talents and the gifts. Capital projects, a big decision making. 3 different teams have made a presentation to senior team looking for funding to take the capital projects forward. You can only fund 1 out of 3 because of the limited resources. You're going to do pros and cons analysis and what is the project with the biggest impact, biggest bang for the buck. You need to do that, and that requires tremendous decision making among the senior leaders. Strategic planning, this is where the senior leaders sit together, look at the data from the customers, employees, processes, competition, changes in the environment, technology, regulation, etc., and then plan the strategic plan for the organization, vision, mission, values, business objectives, short-term, long-term plans, etc. So a lot of decisions to be made. Forming a team. So when an issue is upon the organization, whether it's confronting regarding the customers, operations, finance, people, whatever the issue is, the senior leaders charter the team, appoint the right team leader, and then in turn, the team leader will bring in additional people as needed based on the variety of skills to solve the problems. Managing your suppliers, again, big decisions. You have many things, you rely upon external suppliers. So you need to create a simple spreadsheet on a given item, 1 or 2 or 3 suppliers. Who will you choose based on their flexibility, their reliability, their past track record, and the lowest price? You want to select the best you can. Managing your time in the professional setting, 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 time, how much time do you really put on the work rather than spend time during the coffee breaks and at the lunch break? And how do you manage the change, that is improvement areas you need to think about? And of course, if you are working for somebody, that person higher up has always lots of ideas for you to work upon. And you have to keep track of those ideas. Best thing to do is sit down with that higher up to find out what is the order of priority so you can put your time and effort to address the most important first and then keep clearing the deck. Otherwise, you will be working on something meaningless to them at the bottom of the issue or bottom of the list. And when you go back to your higher up, they will say, okay, this is not what I was looking for initially. Focus on this or that. So as we see, opportunities are endless in the professional setting to make professionally all our decisions. Let's turn the table at the personal level. So the students who have come to Uttarakhand Technical University, you chose the university wisely for technical education. Down the road, when you get married, you need to think about your spouse. Where did the spouse go to school? Once you have your own children, where do you put them into school? Which one? Why? And again, once you have the first degree, that's not the end of the journey. Getting a degree is the beginning of your professional career, and one should think about becoming a lifelong student. Continue to learn, get the opportunity to get further degrees if you can. Branch out. So most of you are technical people. I would suggest look into getting the management exposure by joining for MBA, management program, etc. So you can round out your professional career. Job, where will you go? Not just based on the package, but the match where your abilities and skills and interests match up with the position for which you are hired. In that case, you will make tremendous contribution. If you just go with the package and take job where you have no interest, you will get bored and you leave that organization. Same thing for your spouse or the better half. Financial, once you start earning money, you need to think about where to put some funds so that it will come in handy during your retirement, during your emergency situations. Shopping, where do you go and buy the durable and non-durable goods? Housing, where will you rent your first apartment, condo down the road when you have more ability, more resources, build your own house? Which car to buy? Simple one to start. Even you can have a bike, then transition into four-wheeler, etc. Appliances, where do you go and which one you buy? Clothing, type of clothing for yourself, for the family members, where do you go for prayers? Sports, either you play or a watch. Now, very important, once you start working, make sure you take time out to go on a vacation and recharge your battery. At AT&T Bell Labs, we had a senior people reminding us all the time that whatever vacation you're coming, definitely make sure you take those vacation on a yearly basis so that you are away from work, not thinking about the work, and you are fully refreshed. When you come back, you can make better contributions. Hobbies, one need to cultivate some to remain active. Personal improvement items, books to read, and this is my very simple suggestions. So last October, I completed 77 years. I continue to read new information through Harvard Business Review, MIT Sloan Management Review, McKinsey and Company. I have several blogs and push come every day into my inbox. I quickly take a look. If something is important and relevant to the work I'm doing, I save them, create a digital library, and go back and reflect upon it when needed and share it widely among my network of friends through WhatsApp. And I also write some blogs, so I put it up there. Managing your time at the personal level outside of the workplace is very important, requires decision. And then there is a honey to-do list. So if you are married, your spouse will give you a long list of things to do. Don't ignore it. If you do ignore it, then don't expect either lunch or dinner that day. You need to be keeping track of the things given by your spouse and keep clearing the deck and keep your spouse informed what you have done. So again, tremendous opportunities of making personal decisions all the time. And here comes a very special slide I had developed in the last few years, decision making during COVID-19. And some of these tips I think will be a good reminder as the pandemic, the COVID-19 is picking up pace in India. So we can always follow the hygiene tips, hand washing with soap and water, minimum 20 seconds at a time. Social distancing, minimum 6 feet distance, wear a face mask when you are out and in the crowd. And I use the gloves when I go out as appropriate. So I don't touch any surface where the germs are already there. We can develop healthy habits by eating healthy foods to boost our immunity and continue to exercise regularly. And by the way, for the last 11 years plus, I've been walking 10,000 steps a day, mainly in the house. So I can do it anytime, 24/7, 365 days a year. We have a long lobby. So I do all the walking between morning and evening and do all the phone calls, planning, and everything going on while I'm walking. And that as a result, I've shed quite a bit of weight and I continue to remain active. We can make behavioral changes, adjust to no or minimum social gatherings, look after children and elderly, and very important, if you are married, share in the house chores and help out your better half, and adjust to the modern technology and workplace changes, more virtual meeting for collaboration and continued distance learning effort. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing and let's pick up any questions or comments, and we'll open up a chat box and see if there are any questions. Okay, so far there is nothing in there. Okay, go ahead, Sandeep Kumarji.
Very good evening, sir. As you shared your slide, personal decision making, in that you highlight very important points. Some of the points are very much connected in that time management is very much important and decision is also very much important. So that you highlighted housing, automobile, appliances, clothing, church, sports to play, vacation. So how means these decision making can be affect these all personal means activities, because this is the one's activity. So how the decision making is making an impact on these very important activities of a person.
Yeah. So here, so let's take a case, Sandeep Kumarji, of a person is married. Then when you are making a decision, keep your spouse involved. That way you are making decisions with two people's input. And if you have grown-up children, put them in the decision-making mix as well. So if you make a decision single-handedly versus if more people are involved and giving input, which one will be better? Obviously, with more input, you can make a better decisions, which will have a personal impact. And a lot of these personal impact will carry on in the professional life as well. Because personally, when you are happy, contented, then your reflection comes in the professional output, professional work. You are not bothered about those issues when you are at work. And that is essentially the continuation between personal decision into professional decisions. It frees you up to be 100% attentive while you are at a workplace. So personal decisions made, and if they are made in a more effective way, it will have a positive outcome and positive impact on your own life. Your life will extend. Essentially, you are trying to live as simple a life as possible with the resources you have and make the right decisions to what to do, what not to do. And that will also have, as I mentioned, the carryover effect in your professional life and career as well. So hope, Sandeep Kumarji, that takes care of your question.
Nice, sir. Thank you. One more question I will willing to discuss with you. As you shared two slides, professional decision making and personal decision making.
Yeah.
So, is there is these two means a concept, because both are related to means a person concern, in which very much important points you highlighted in that. So, when we find these two things are either correlated or not correlated concern.
Well, as I mentioned, they are synergistic. One will have impact on the other because first you begin with your personal life, make the right decisions, you are happy, you bring in more energy at the workplace. And when you are more successful in the workplace, that energy will come back at the home front as well. So it all works in the circle. And I've seen that personally being played out while I was with AT&T Bell Labs. Professionally, I had a great mentor who mentored me in the quality discipline, gave me a lot of freedom, allowed me to take training for as many hours I needed to bring in the new discipline of quality at our campus of 10,000 people. So the flexibility, the trust, the ability for me to make decisions with his consent at the end, but all the legwork I had to do, research I had to do to find the right resources to bring to benefit the organization, that allowed me to grow rapidly into the field. And we had the best quality improvement teams in place for the front end of the systems engineering area at AT&T Bell Labs, leading the organization in our location. So again, both personal and professional decision makings are interrelated, correlated, very much synergistic, and they feed on each other. So we need to be mindful about it, take the most positive advantage of all those things, and do better in our life by improving our decisions as we go forward. Okay, thank you, Sandeep Kumarji. Shivangi Bhatia has a question, so go ahead, Shivangi.
Sir, as Sandeep sir asked about the decision making on the personal level, so there you
Mhm.
said कि we should involve more people to our decision making process. But will
Yes.
that not create a chaos and there will be a lot of confusion in the mind of the person who's taking the actual decision?
No, I'm talking about your immediate
Because
family
he will
member.
have more of options instead taking it on their own.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when the decisions have an impact to the family, involve the family members. When the decision have impact on wider circle of people, involve them, and that applies both in the personal and professional setting. So if you think of a project, and if you are the project leader, you don't make the decision in isolation. You want to involve your team members by laying out everything on the table, asking for their opinions and ideas so that when people are assigned tasks, they know exactly why this decision was made and what's its impact for the team and its progress. So this decision making is fundamentally depends on what's the outcome and who is going to be impacted. If the impact is wider, you want to include as many of other people as possible just to get their opinion, and based on collective opinions, make a decision to move forward. And we'll elaborate upon it during the teamwork presentation as well, session 4. So it's not the confusion, but it's collaboration, getting more ideas. And we saw that
Okay.
from the Google's challenge, what they teach managers, how to be collaborative, how to involve other people in decision making by asking questions, getting their input, and then making a collective decision, which will be more effective in the long run. Initially, it will take some time, but that time is well worth spent because outcome will be much more positive. Thank you, Shivangi. Shweta Makhija has raised the hand. Go ahead,
Thank
Shweta.
you so much, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Shweta, go ahead. Shweta.
want to ask, how can we make right decisions if we have more positive opportunities in comparison to negative opportunities?
You are coming with a low volume. Can you repeat or put it in the chat, please? It's much easier for me to take a look at the chat and answer the question properly. Meanwhile, we are waiting. Anyone else has a question? Shweta is putting it in the chat, please. Okay, the question from Shweta was, how can we make right decision if we have more positive opportunities? Then you have to do pros and cons. If you have, say, in comparison to negative opportunities. Okay. So the question is, how do we make a right decisions when there are opportunities in both sides, positive and negative? Definitely, you don't want to focus on negative to start. You want to focus on the positive opportunities. And if there are more than one, then you need to do more like a analysis of pros and cons. If there are three positive opportunities, look at the one which has the biggest impact on you and your work and others surrounding you, and select that one first, clear that out, and then look for other opportunities in a positive way. Negative thing, definitely you want to keep in mind, but you don't need to work on it. Okay, any additional questions at this point? If not, we'll keep moving in the interest of time. Okay, I'm closing the chat, going back to the presentation.
Sir, we don't have any questions as of now. We can continue.
Yeah, we have, okay, Pawan Kumar Bakshi has raised a hand. Okay, Pawan Kumar ji, come in. Pawan Kumar ji. If you have a question, can you put it in the chat, please? It's easy for me to look at the question. Sometimes it's low volume, so I may not be able to hear it properly. Pawan Kumar ji, please come in. I think in the interest of time, I may move on. Pawan Kumar ji, you can put your question in the chat and we'll come to it. Thank you. Back to the presentation. So I want to bring in a very simple diagram called a tree diagram coming from Japan, one of the quality management tool which can help you make a better decision. So here the question is, after several years of restriction on the travel, etc., due to the pandemic, now is the time to think about going on vacation. That's your highest level decision at level 1. Which opens up several opportunities at decision 2. You can go to Europe, visit the family, or go camping in state. For each of the decision 2, there is again a decision level 3 with a specific outcome. So what you can do is take a lot of information on a single piece of paper and traverse the journey. So going from decision 1, you choose to go to Europe, then you want to visit Spain. Outcome will be you are going to see new things, have a good time. So this is how putting lots of information, very complex situation to make a simple decision, where will you go and what will be the final outcome. Simple but very effective tool, so keep that in mind. Now here comes practical application of decision making. So the choice of branches, most of you are engineers, but within engineering, there are many components. and many choices. So you have to decide which one is your choice. So I chose chemical engineering because I was very good with chemistry and mathematics. That was my area of strength. Combination of two led me to enter into the chemical engineering field. Others can be doing computer, civil, mechanical, electrical, telecommunication, etc. Business side, as I mentioned, that even after getting the engineering degree, think of getting into business side education in there. I started doing my MBA while I was working at the Institute of Gas Technology and finalized my MBA while I was at Bell Labs after transition. And I chose marketing as my major, but you can have operations, you can have finance, you can have strategy, you can have IT, etc. as a minor, etc. Some of you may decide to enter into medicine, and there are many opportunities: pediatrics, internal medicine, endocrinology, surgery, ophthalmology, etc. Some of you may decide to learn law, and there are different branches within the law, and some will progress in fine arts, liberal arts, life sciences, pharmaceutics, etc. So this choice of branches requires you to decide what is the right field you want to enter. And this is where you need to take a stock of your strengths. And in session on teamwork, we'll focus upon how to find out what you are good at. That's your area of strength and interest. And then select the branch where you will be able to continue your progress using the strengths you have. So this is where the decisions are made based on interest and area of strength, with the final outcome of finding a meaningful work. So some of you will decide after getting a degree from the Uttarakhand Technical University to join the corporate world. Some of you will decide to join the rank of educators. Some of you will pick up the government job. Some will work for the R&D labs, or some will decide to work for NGO. And those who are brave enough will think about starting their own concern, being an entrepreneur, and do something very useful to the society by coming up with new and innovative ideas, create a product or a service for which people will pay. So interestingly, when Professor Muhammad Yunus, the Nobel Peace Laureate from Bangladesh, was visiting Chicago here in 2015, we took him to Chicago Public Radio for an interview. During his interview, he made a very simple remark, which was very profound. He says, our education system is lopsided. We are creating more job seekers than job providers. In other words, we need to teach our students more entrepreneurship. That will allow them to open up their own companies and hire others rather than keep begging for a job. And in India, I think the situation is really serious with the high unemployment due to lack of skills in places where they go to get the degrees. A lot of it is on paper. I'm talking about most of the run-of-the-mill institutions. Some good ones like Uttarakhand Technical University and others are the exception, where you do pick up the skills needed to the best in your field. So the decision making, the choice of the branches, and then finding the meaningful work, they are all interrelated. And if you choose the right field based on your interest and the strengths, you will do well in studies, you will find a meaningful work which will help you to do well and progress professionally and personally. Now we are going to have a very simple group decision-making short YouTube. So I have to go to the place where it's aligned, and I'll come back in a second to share it.
Making decisions can be hard enough, but making them with a group can be particularly tricky. Let's look at an example of group decision making and how using decision skills can help. This is Mike, Chris, Matt, and Arlo. They like hanging out together because they're pretty good friends. This Friday night, they're going out to eat before they go to a friend's party. "Where do you want to go?" says Mike. "I don't care," says Chris. "Me neither," says Matt. "As long as it's good," says Arlo. Sounds like it should be pretty easy, right? But here's the thing. Mike, Chris, Matt, and Arlo all have different ideas about how this is going to work out. And they have different thoughts about what they would like and what is important to them. And they might just be assuming that those same things are important to all of them. But no worries. The guys have been friends for a long time and know that they need to work some stuff out. Without even really thinking about it, they begin communicating and clarifying. "I was thinking pizza," says Mike. "I had pizza for lunch. How about Thai, or the diner for a change?" "I'm a little strapped for cash this week, so can we make it on the cheaper side?" says Matt. "And how are we going to get there?" says Arlo. That's a good start, but now they dig a little deeper. "I've got my mother's car this evening, so I can drive," says Matt. "And the party doesn't start until later, so we've got plenty of time," says Mike. "Last time I went to the Thai place, it was good, but it's not very cheap." "We could try that taco place that just opened up on Maple Ave. Has anyone been there? Is it any good?" "I haven't heard anything about it, other than it's finally open." "Tacos are cheap, but if they're bad, they're really bad. Is pizza out? I could go for a slice." "I couldn't do pizza, but I guess I could order a cheesesteak instead. I'm just feeling a little cheesed out, you know?" "All right, pizza's off the list. And so's Thai. It'd be good, but it's too much to spend for this week." "Fine. So, diner or new tacos?" "Tacos would be closer. It's only a couple of blocks, while the diner is all the way out on the highway." "Yeah, but we know the diner is good, and the cherry pie is pretty much worth the trip." "Yeah, but we could try something new. If only we knew if the taco place was good or not." Right around here is when people fall into one of the biggest group decision traps: decision fatigue. This is when you get sick of discussing an issue and just want to throw in the towel and do whatever seems easiest. "All right, I don't care anymore. Let's just get pizza like we always do." Then Chris says, "I don't really want pizza. Come on. We just have to decide between the diner and the taco place. What do you think?" Arlo replies, "All right. Even though it might be a nice change, we don't know how good the taco place will be. I say we hold off on trying it until we hear something about it. And tonight, let's go to the diner. We've got a car so we can drive, which we might not have next week. There are all kinds of things on the menu so people can be adventurous if they don't want burgers and fries. Plus, it's cheap and it's good." Excellent. Good job, guys. You communicated and clarified the elements of your decision basis and thought your way to a good decision. And you stuck with it and didn't fall for decision fatigue. Way to go. Have a piece of cherry pie for me.
So as we saw here, when you are in a group setting, decision making becomes easy when you share the information, discuss about it, and find a best solution which will have a positive impact on everyone involved. So we are open for questions, and there is a question from Ankit Kantpal. Many times a situation or dilemma would have arisen to making a decision. Should we say that decision has to be taken on a decision? Good question and good lead in. We'll be looking at some of the decision-making models very quickly. So not making a decision is a decision itself. But if you keep doing that all the time, you will not be making any impact. So you are just sort of punting it and avoiding it. And this applies to the highest level of the organization. When leadership has many issues in front of them, and if they don't make decision, the issue doesn't go away. By stalling the decision on them, it just gets compounded and it will have a bad impact on the organization. So take a look at each and every decision opportunity and see whether you have to take a decision or not. If you don't need to take a decision, it's okay, but don't make that as a habit, because then it becomes habitual not to act upon anything, and then you lose your relevance. Next question: when there are two or more partial decisions or a little bit of confusion on decision making, what should be done? So when you are in doubt, and if it is related to the work of the more people than yourself, involve them in the decision making. The reason is making decision is one part, but taking action on the decisions made, that's where you will need people to buy in and help you in implementing that decision. So it's a two-part series. Planning part is make a decision, but implementing it in action, you will require more people who has the impact to make it happen. Okay, more questions, please come in. This is the time for a quick interaction, and then we'll continue the journey. Okay, go ahead, Sandeep Kumarji.
Sir, my question is on one of your slides, that is decision choice of branches. As we saw that in engineering, many of the students don't have their choice. They're totally dependent on choice of their friend, and their friend is also dependent on other choice. So means this can affect their future also. This decision, maybe after this concern, it will be maybe wrong or maybe right. Not 100% it is means wrong, or not 100% it is correct. So how they can make a right decision while not depending on others' choice?
Yeah, and you are raising a right question, Sandeep ji. The key is, most of the time, at least I'm talking about my generation, parents made a decision whether you will go into engineering, medicine, or commerce area, and those were the few options we had in those times. I'm talking about early 60s. Whether one has a aptitude or interest in either engineering, medicine, or business, that was irrelevant in those days. Nowadays, we have more opportunities, more options open. So if you are a parent, you should be open to learning from your sons or daughters to see where their interests are, what are they interested in, whether it's the engineering side, and within engineering, which branch excites them. Now, they may not have full idea of what it means, but at least they are showing the inclination, which area they want to get into. Excuse me. Sorry, I lingering cold here. So, a decision should be, as a parent, we need to be more inclusive, asking them what their area of interest is. And when their area of interest is taken into account, that person will do well. So first you understand what your strengths and interests are, and then you continue to get some advice from others you trust, rather than parents making a unilateral decision about the branches to take. And when this decision making is improved, it will have a positive impact on the outcome by getting the right field and then making better use of the knowledge and getting a better position and progressing in life. Sandeep Kumarji, I hope it makes sense.
Nice, sir. Thank you.
Okay, back to Sweta. How can we make good decisions when we are in a teamwork? There are different points of views. Yeah, this is an excellent question for the teamwork session coming up on the decision on the fourth session. So the key will be team leader has to make sure that each of the members of the team are given the right assignment based on their strengths and their ability to volunteer for those tasks and subtasks. So the work on your own task and subtask, you have to decide and set up the timeline, decide on the outcome, and those things needs to be coordinated by the team leader. Different points of view can be brought on the table while you are discussing what needs to be done. But once the assignments are in place, everybody does their best to complete their task and subtask. Okay, Manish Agarwal, when we have lots of tasks, what to set the priority, and anyone can take effective decision. Yeah, there is a slide coming up very shortly about how to prioritize our work. So let's hold the thought on that. Any additional quick question? Okay, hearing none, I'll be back into the presentation. So now we are going to segue into decision-making models. So decision-making is a skill which can be learned and it will improve with practice. So there are 6 decision-making models at the basic level. First one is scientific, knowledge-based, more like a detective approach. Second is ethical, doing the right thing, moral approach, and we are going to expand upon it in this section coming up shortly. Economical, net gain based on cost-benefit approach. Political, whether the outcome will be accepted by the people, a subjective approach. Experience, past knowledge, the familiarity approach, and habitual default based, the passive approach. So out of 6, the last one is passive, the other ones are active or proactive approaches. So do not rely on the habitual part all the time, because then your decision making will have a very limited impact. So for a given situation, the decision you are going to make, you can make use multiple models which will work together collaboratively to make a right decision. There are 9 steps to decision making when you have more options and decisions are pending. There could be more feeling of overwhelming and you may feel it's a complication there, but the decision is as easy or complicated as we choose to be. Bottom line, we need to take control and decide to be decisive. And it requires a good mindset, a mental attitude, which will come with practice and persistence. So here are the 9 steps to be decisive. Believe in yourself that you are a decisive person. You visualize that you are a quick and firm decision maker. There are no bad decisions. In other words, action beats inaction. Be brave. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Have faith by listening to your instinct. Take a step back by expanding the possibilities. Set time limit. A lot of people decide only under tight deadlines. Persistent practice. Make fast decisions often. In the 5th session on project management, we will learn that do few things soon, small things, and fail faster to succeed sooner. So when you fail at the early stages, you will learn from it, make the course correction, and reach the destination with better success sooner. And think out loud, clearly define the questions, write down the options, and check your assumptions. So when you have these 9 steps in front of you, you will be able to make a better decision and continue to improve upon them. And interestingly, back in 2011, a park district similar to the Department of Forestry for my state, they were training entry level, mid level, and senior level executives about a number of topics. And my assignment was effective decision making. So I immediately looked at the resource from Harvard Business School Publishing and got 10 articles on effective decision making, read all 10 of them and summarized that in the presentation. And today's presentation is the updated variation of the one I had given over the years on effective decision making. Now, in most of the organization, there is a culture of indecision. That is the biggest issue of corporate underperformance is failure to execute. That is, actions are lacking. Such failures will result because from the misfiring of the personal interactions, and more often than not, there are large and small decisions either made or not made throughout any organization. And the inability to take decisive action is rooted in company's culture. So, gentleman by name Dr. Ram Sharan, who is the 1959 mechanical engineering graduate from IIT BHU, my alma mater, is one of the world's #1 consultant, only works with the CEOs, and he gives advice, and CEOs take every word given by him. Of course, he is paid very handsomely for his advice. So the leaders create the culture of indecisiveness, and in order to overcome that, he has given some guidance that the leaders should engender intellectual honesty in connections between people. The organization's social operating mechanisms should have a honest. And third item is very important, that the leaders must give feedback and follow through by rewarding high achievers. So one end, those who are achieving, high achievers, reward them. Coach those who are struggling at the bottom end, and discourage those whose behaviors are blocking the progress. So reward high achievers, coach who are struggling, and discourage those whose behaviors are blocking the progress on implementation of that decision. Excellent advice. Now there is another dimension of decisions. Who makes the decision? And it's when their clarity is not there, decision will not be made or made in a wrong way. So decisions routinely stall inside the organization, which will impact the entire organization's performance. Now, issue is who is accountable for which decision. So how to clarify your decision accountability? Here is an excellent way to use a model called RAPID. So R will take care of who will recommend the course of actions for the key decision. A is agree to a recommendation before it will move forward. P, who will perform the actions to implement the decisions. I, whose input is needed to determine proposal's feasibility. And D, who decides to bring the decision to a closure and commit the organization to implement it. So if you remember, I made a comment, making a decision is a planning step. but implementing that decision requires energy and focus to implement it once the decision is made. So when the roles for the decision making are clarified, you make the right choices swiftly and effectively. Very important rapid model. Now here is an exercise. When you see the presentation posted on the website, you can go through this exercise for 2 to 3 last meaningful decisions you have made and answer those 10 questions. It'll give you some things to reflect upon and do some introspections to learn more about your decision diagnostic. So lot of time good leaders make bad decisions not knowingly, but they develop a pattern recognition and do emotional tagging by making quick decisions which could be distorted by self-interest, emotional attachment, or misleading memories. So those are the red flag conditions, sources of bias, which requires more analysis, greater debate, or stronger governance. And these red flag conditions apply to all the people at the higher level in the organization. Inappropriate self-interest, distorting attachments, and misleading memories. So article talks about stop making plans, start making decisions. Now this is in the context of strategic plan, which generally is done only annually, and it unfolds unit by unit, so there is no synergy. So take a case of an organization with 4 divisions. Each division do their own strategic plan without interacting with other divisions. So there is no opportunity to roll up their work at the highest level. And because of these kind of situations, executives at the top level routinely bypass the formal strategic planning process and make ad hoc decisions, which can be incorrect, made too slowly, or not at all. So here is the guidance. You can focus upon continuous issues-focused strategic planning by debating one issue at a time until you reach a decision. And you reward significant strategic decisions every year. And it's picked up here, so let me populate it first. So traditional way, annual review based on business unit, you will be hardly able to make 2.5 decisions per year, key ones. Annual review focus, you improve to 3.5 decisions per year. Continuous review focus on business unit 4.1. And best one is continuous review focused on issues, 6.1 decisions per year. So I'll give you one practical example. Alan Mulalla, after leaving Boeing Corporation, joined Ford Motor Company. And in order to keep the strategic plan of the Ford Motor Company very flexible and agile, he used to have a weekly review of the strategic plan where for 2 hours, all the managers around the world from the Ford Motor Company will be on a call, and they will review strategic plan to be relevant in the marketplace ahead of the competition, ahead of the changes coming through technology, regulation, etc. That's an extreme. You can't do this all the time unless you have a tremendous leadership. But when business conditions change, you need to change your strategic plan, because if you are going on a originally drawn out strategic plan and conditions have changed, you're going in the wrong direction, and that will hurt the organization. Quick item about time management, again from Dr. Stephen Covey. We saw his work, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People in Leadership section. So on the y-axis, we have either important or not important, x-axis urgent or not urgent. According to Dr. Stephen Covey, your time should be spent 90 to 95% on the quadrant 2, important but not urgent. That is all the prevention item, relationship building with your stakeholders, all the planning. And when you do good work, take time out to recharge your battery. Remainder of the 5 to 10% in the quadrant 1, important and urgent. This is firefighting. Get rid of the crisis and make the deadlines, but don't focus on quadrant 1 all the time. So there are some organizations where people are so smart, they will start the fire, come up with the fire hose extinguisher and put out the fires. Top management not knowing exactly who is doing what, they will essentially recognize and reward those people who started the fire as the heroes. The one you want to recognize and reward are the people who are in the quadrant 2, doing systematic fundamental work to take the organization forward. And of course, quadrant 3, not important, urgent, and quadrant 4, not urgent, not important. Should not be spending much time at all on it while you are in the work situation or even at the individual level. So bottom line, quadrant 2, 90 to 95% of your time. Quadrant 1, 10 to 15% of your time. And here is the answer to one of the questions raised during interaction. How do you prioritize your decision? Because you have many things coming into your inbox. So suggestion is create 4 buckets. First bucket is do. Whatever you need to work on, put it in the do bucket. Second thing is if you have somebody who could help you get it done, put it in the delegate bucket. Make sure the person you are assigning it to has the right skills and ability to get it done. Give them guidance, what needs to be done, not how to do it, macro versus micromanagement. And then review with them the progress and ensure that the work is getting done. Third, delay. You have to do it, but right now you are busy on some other aspect of a project. You put it on a yellow sticky paper and come back to it and get it done when your time, 1 week or 10 days you mention in the sticky paper. And lot of things coming your way should go in the dump basket. So by essentially prioritizing all the things coming in your way, you decide on what needs to be worked upon. That will free you up from the clutter and you will work on the right things, specifically the important things, not urgent things and not trivial things, but very important things you need to accomplish. At this point, I'll stop sharing. We'll take few questions for interaction. And let's see if there are any questions from the previous one. So the priority thing we have taken care of, Manishji. Ankit, depending on the circumstance of the country or society, the decision might have been changed. How will give information? Yeah, so take a case of our national education policy. It came out on July 29, 2020. Decision is made to implement it through 2035. And this is a game changer for putting India on the map to become the best in education. And this is how things change when right people work on the right issues, bring up some new ideas, they put together new policy, government approves it. Then it's up to the higher education institutes to get ready and implement those plans, those decisions, and put it into action. And this is where the serious challenge is, as we discussed in the session 1. I hope that is the quick one, Ankit. Sandeep Kumarji, your question, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. One of your slide that is very much important, little content is on this, that is priority decisions. So how we prioritizing the decision making, because this is very much difficult, that how we can give priority to the decisions.
So what you do is you make a list of all the things for which you have to make a decision, and then you assign the priority. Important to the stakeholder, important to the organization. Multiply those questions and find a refined set of prioritized decisions, items you need to work upon, which will have the biggest impact, which is a combination of impact to the stakeholders and impact to the organization. And then you start tackling those from the highest to the lowest priority. Within the team setting, you have 10 tasks to do, but then look at the tasks which have implication in terms of the impact to the others. Somebody is waiting for you to deliver your part of the task or a subtask. So you prioritize the order in which you will work on those tasks and subtasks so that you can satisfy the needs of the other members of the team. They do not have to keep waiting for you forever or until the last minute. You deliver to them the right steps and right outcome from your task and subtask. So this requires some thinking and working together in a collaborative way, which is the part of the teamwork module session 4 coming up. I hope that makes sense, Sandeep Kumarji.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any one quick item before we jump into the ethical decision making, because I want to spend a little time on it. Okay, hearing none. Closing the chat. Back to the presentation. So ethical decision making, why this is important. So for those who are students, you want to make sure that each one of you are learning whatever is required to be done in your program, rather than take a shortcut, copy from somebody else, don't do your work on a timely basis, and essentially not putting your focus on learning, rather focus on getting the exams cleared by cheating or any other means, which is detrimental for your own progress, because at the end of the day, even if you pass the exams by non-standard ways or not appropriate ways, when you are confronted in real life solving problems, you will have no skills, no knowledge to tackle it. Then you'll be behind and maybe asked to leave the organization. So this ethical decision making is very important. Now, my simple suggestion is ethics begins at home. The way our parents teach us how to be ethical through words and actions, we as a children, when we grow up, we pick up that from our own parents. Then we come to the education area, different levels, primary, middle school, high school, colleges, universities, etc. We need to continue to manage and maintain that ethics, come to workplace, continue to be ethical. And if you are in the leadership role, you need to be ethical first yourself, and then ensure that the ethics are maintained throughout the organization, because it can have a tremendous impact, positive or negative, based on how you decide and make ethical decisions or not make ethical decisions. So it's a question of right versus the wrong. You always want to go with the right outcome by making the proper decisions which are ethical. So what is ethical behavior? It is the difference between right and wrong. Sometimes the decision-making line is blurred. So there is a black and white, either you are right or wrong, but then there is a middle area, the gray area where it could be on the boundary. So in those situations, you have to ask these 4 questions. Is your decision truthful, fair to everyone affected? Will it build goodwill for the organization? And is it beneficial to all parties who have the vested interest in the outcome? So if the answer to all these 4 questions is yes, you will be able to proceed and make an ethical decision. If answer to any one of the 4 questions is no, you do not want to proceed. Because if you proceed with one no, that means there is going to be some issue which will come back and haunt you at the end. So there is no right way to do a wrong thing. That's a fundamental premise of the effective decision making. So top 5 reasons to run an ethical business, because at the end of the day, it will be more profitable. You'll be protect brand and reputation. You do the right things. You develop the customer trust and loyalty. Now, here is the story for India in terms of ethics. So the latest data, World Corruption Index 2022 list out of 180 countries, India stands at 85, middle of the pack, the row score of 40 out of 100. Denmark being the rank 1, row score 90 from 100 total. So this is where India needs to do better with respect to ethics. World's most ethical companies 2023 list out of 135 global companies. There's only one from India, the Infosys. 98 companies on the list are from the US. So majority of them are from the US. World Human Development Index 2021, published in 22, 191 country rankings. India ranks at 132. The composite score of 0.633, life expectancy at birth 67.2 years, expected years of schooling 11.9 years, and gross national income per capita $6,590. So the report card is dismal, and that should be taken on as a challenge to improve the ethics. Start at your own level and decide not to give bribe for anything, for any issues to anybody, and continue to expand that circle of maintaining the ethics in you as a student. No copying, no cheating, focus on learning, make better use of your time. And if you are a faculty, make sure that you are doing the right things and not getting involved in the cheating scandals. And in the workplace, do your best to provide your best contribution. Unethical business scandals, many. We are still waiting for payment of the 1984 disaster, Bhopal gas disaster by the Union Carbide Company. The CEO was never sent back to India to stand trial. Enron and Arthur Andersen bankruptcy, we'll talk about it in a short YouTube coming up. Number of companies in year 2002 here in the Western world got sort of closed or filed for bankruptcy because of the unethical behavior by the top leadership. Global Crossings, WorldCom, Tyco International. Back at the India scene, 2007, 2G Spectrum scam in India. 2010, Suresh Kamladi, Commonwealth Games scandal hero who was put behind bar for mishandling the Commonwealth Games. Volkswagen emission scandal from Germany, Wells Fargo Bank scandal 2016 from US, and Punjab National Bank in India 2018. So it's the bribery, dishonesty, and unethical behavior and the greed by the senior leaders leading to many major business scandals. And the story continues because the money, the greed is always there. And depending on how good is the leader is, and the bad leaders get involved in these kind of shoddy businesses and business practices, and they take the organization down. So I'm going to share with you a story about Enron Energy Trading Company out of Houston, which was essentially manipulating the energy cost for electricity and natural gas for heating homes for the state of California. And ultimately they went down, and along with them they took the Arthur Andersen, world's #1 accounting company, started in Chicago. It went under because they were doing both auditing and consulting for the company. So let's listen to the story of Enron, how it went up in flame because of unethical practices.
It had taken Enron 16 years to go from about 10 billion of assets to 65 billion of assets. It took them 24 days to go bankrupt.
Just an immediate sense of outrage at Lay and Skilling and Fastow when people realized how much they had profited and how completely artificial the appearance of this company had been.
That nobody could really understand, and in fact that many Kenway's lieutenants questioned. They said this business can't be making this much money legitimately. Something weird is going on.
Mark-to-market accounting allowed Enron to book potential future profits on the very day a deal was signed. No matter how little cash actually came in the door, to the outside world, Enron's profits could be whatever Enron said they were.
Things that fascinated me was that almost all of the Wall Street analysts who covered Enron had buy ratings or strong buy ratings on the company's stock.
One analyst who didn't buy the company line became an enemy of Enron. Enron's CFO, Andy Fastow, had his eye on John Olson, one of the only analysts skeptical of the Enron story.
Enron loved analyst strong buy recommendations.
Merrill was informed by Fastow, either you get somebody who is on board with us and has a strong buy recommendation and loves us at the same time, or we don't do any business with you.
Merrill Lynch fired John Olson. Soon after, Fastow rewarded the bank with 2 investment banking jobs worth $50 million. His job was to cover up the fact that Enron was becoming a financial fantasy land. To please the boss, Fastow had to figure out a way to keep the stock price up by hiding the fact that Enron was $30 billion in debt. Enron was just stashing its debt in Fastow's companies where investors couldn't see it. LJM was Fastow's most ambitious creation. It would work magic for Enron, and it would allow Fastow to conjure $45 million for himself. Returns that would exceed 2,000%. 96 individual bankers invested in LJM, and America's major banks put up as much as $25 million each.
The Enron fraud is the story of synergistic corruption. There are supposed to be checks and balances in the system. The lawyers are supposed to say no. The accountants are supposed to say no. The bankers are supposed to say no, but no one who was supposed to say no said no. They all took their share of the money from the fraud and put it in their pockets.
Enron paid its advisors well. In 2001, the accounting firm Arthur Andersen received $1 million a week. Enron's law firm, Vinson & Elkins, did nearly as well.
Oh, for instance, one email I remember where the banker writes, Enron loves these deals. They produce cash, but they don't have to show the debt on the balance sheet. Now, a high school student can figure out that the banks were all knowing participants in this wrongdoing.
Merrill Lynch assisted Enron in cooking its books by pretending to purchase an existing Enron asset when it was really engaged in a loan.
California was selected by Enron as the prime place to experiment with this new concept of deregulated electricity.
Commodity that normally trades in the $35 to $45 range, high prices are when it gets in the 50s or $1,000.
Prices aren't going to stay at $1,000 forever. Weed out the weak people in the market. Get rid of them, and you know what? The people who are strong stick around.
Traders soon discovered that by shutting down power plants, they could create artificial shortages that would push
guys to get a little creative, and come up with a reason to go down.
Like a forced outage type thing.
Right.
West Coast traders made nearly $2 billion for Enron.
The differences between the state of California and the Titanic, at least when the Titanic went down, the lights were on.
In 2001, less than 4 months after Skilling's resignation, Enron declared bankruptcy. His accounting firm, Arthur Andersen, had begun destroying its Enron files. Enron's accounting firm, Arthur Andersen, was convicted of obstructing justice. With its reputation for honesty destroyed, America's oldest accounting firm fell along with Enron, and 29,000 people lost their jobs.
So you saw the implication of unethical decision-making by the top leadership to artificially create the shortages for the electricity and the energy for state of California, and profiting from the bad business practices. And then both the CEO and the president behind the bar, CEO committed suicide. And this is where the ethics come into play. So in the interest of time, let me finish the rest of the presentation and we'll take some more questions. So let me continue the journey here. So there are 5 signs of organization ethics scandal. When you see there is a urgency and fear that will justify scandals are necessary for survival, when there's isolation, location far away from headquarters are more vulnerable under authoritarian and competitive leader, fragmentation and plausible deniability, you deny personal knowledge of the scandal, so keep your eyes and ears shut. Success and impunity, tendency not to question the success. That means if something results are coming in because of the unethical behavior, you just don't talk about it and let it continue. In-group language, that is hide and rationalize unethical behavior. So the impact for India will be if we deliver value education in India by building key values for their character building and make them responsible citizens. Ethics, honesty, and integrity, which are one of the foundations for becoming a leader and a good leader. Compassion for others, practice of non-violence, practice of truth, respect for elderly, respect for the environment, and reverence for the teachers and gurus. They say, Guru bina gyan nahi. And build in our students spirit of collaboration and cooperation rather than competition and infighting. And this is one of the tenets of the NEP 2020, that we need to create responsible citizens of India and the world by imparting the Indian ethos and Indian system of education going back to Gurukul days, and develop great character, help in character building in our upcoming leaders. So ethics for success requires honesty, integrity, taking responsibility, developing trust and respect, having the ethical leadership, and focusing on the quality of the outcome. Organization, how they shape ethical conduct, they begin to raise the ethical awareness at the foundation, continue to provide ethical education, ensure that all the actions are ethical, and it is led by the ethical leadership at the top. So it's a pyramid system. Lot of great references on ethics, great references on decision making. As I mentioned, I wrote business reviews, 10 must reads on making smart decisions. It has been updated many times. I initially took the publication from 2011. And then there are books by a gentleman named Patrick Lencioni. He has written about 10 books. Each of these books are leadership fables, simple story format, 200 pages you can read in about few hours, with a model at the end of the book where you can use the learning from the book and put it into action. So when I do consulting with many organizations, I recommend these books, and they enjoy putting in action the models put together by the gentleman Patrick Lencioni. Summary in the decision making: AMA, ability determines what you are capable of doing. Motivation determines how you do it, but it is the attitude that determines how well you do it. Engage 3 H's to make the right decisions: the heart, your emotions; head, your ideas and logic; and hands, the implementation. Leadership ability is to translate vision into action, and action into next level of vision for decisive decision making. Ethical decision making is essential for success of any individuals and any organization. And we all need to become the lifelong learner. That's our decision. Two key takeaways from the decision making session. Here is the continuation, the schedule. We have covered now 2 sessions. On Monday, the 1st of May, effective time management, followed by teamwork. On 3rd May, 8th May, effective project management, 10th May, career development guidance. Same time, 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. IST. And I want to thank the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Onkar Singh Ji, Registrar, Dr. Singh, and Dr. Vishal Ji, Vajad Ji, and others, member of the team, for helping putting this program together. And now we are ready to take questions in the chat box. Okay, so Karthik Krishna, example of Harshad Mehta's downfall for the unethical decision making. Absolutely. This is from the biggest scandal in the finance industry, Harshad Mehta. It's very similar to the case we discussed, Enron, very similar unethical behavior at the individual level. Sakshi, okay, joined. Okay, any other questions? Please first come in with the question on the chat box. Okay, Sandeep Kumar Ji, go ahead.
So as you sharing the very important topic, that is ethical decisions. In your last slides, you put very important points: ethical leadership, ethical action, ethical education, and ethical awareness. So means being a student point of view, that how they can go with this all points one by one, and how can they follow in their whole means course journey, that they can lead them success after this.
Yeah. So basically, once you have entered an university, you want to make sure that you make the ethical decisions. That means you study your subjects well, put in the time and effort needed to do your bit to pick up the right knowledge by interacting with others, supporting each others, helping each others to go forward, rather than taking a shortcut, as I mentioned. Because if you get used to taking shortcuts early on by cheating, not preparing well, and relying on somebody else and copying at the end, that will not serve you well. And once you have picked up the right knowledge, You have made the decision to study, focus your time on the issues and the subjects you need to master. You do that, keep in mind the soft skills are important, so you continue to improve upon them and allocate time for it rather than waste it away in the parties and social media. So all those decisions will come back together by the time you are ready to graduate. It will help you to land up with a good organization. And if you have the good knowledge, ability to solve issues and problems, which is problem solving and project management, you will come out ahead in life. You will do well, you will progress in the company. People will notice your contribution, and you will get a chance to continue to make your mark in the organization. That will help you professionally, personally, and at the family level as well. So that's the journey. Each level of these steps, if you are ethical, if you are making the right decisions, engaging the right people, and doing the right things, it will have a tremendous benefit down the road. And that's a journey we all need to think about. Okay, any other comments, questions? And today, at least, we can look at some of the key takeaways one at a time. So if you have one key takeaway, Sandeep Kumarji, you can lead the pack here. What is the one key takeaway from the session from your perspective, and others can put it into the chat.
As you given me the opportunity, the takeaway concern is the very important concern that you discussed in today's session, that is ethics. So in today's scenario for the young age graduates, ethics is very, very important, because they are now going to serve for a company where they have to prove themselves. So everywhere they find this word ethics. So now the session, today's session, will give them an highlight that where this ethics are very much important. The companies, those who are earning very well, and they can destroy because of their decisions and false promises. So the takeaway for this session, today's session, is the word ethics. This is the very important word and very great meaning for behind this word, ethics. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sandeep Kumarji. Okay, others want to put it in the chat. Please help. We have about 6 more minutes to go before we close. One key takeaway from the session. That's a discipline I think we'll all have to develop. And that's one way to learn, paying attention and writing down 1 or 2 key takeaways, and at least share one with others so that everybody gets the perspective of what you are thinking. And this is a peer interaction, peer learning, which is very much needed at the India scene. Anyone, any questions, any takeaway?
Sir, we don't have any questions.
Okay, fine. Any key takeaway? And that's the decision we all need to make. Understand, learn, and share what we have done. So apply, learn, and put it in action. Involve, learn, apply, and share. The model we shared at the session 1. Okay, while we are waiting for the last 4 minutes, any closing comment from Vajadji?
Thanks to all of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for your valuable time, sir. Already I have sent a feedback form on the chat. It is requested to all of you to fill this form. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you all, and we'll see you Monday, 1st of May, on very important topic, effective time management. And this is where we can all do better managing our time. So we'll see you at 8:30 p.m. Monday, the 1st of May. Good night.
Thank
and
you
enjoy.
also. Good night.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.